Um, in terms of casting, that was another big issue. From the first tour, we had made that big error of mixing trainees, trainee performers, because we couldn't find enough visually impaired professional actors to be in the play of the calibre that we needed. We brought in these trainees, it created all this tension, so I had had a radical rethink about how the casting would happen. And some of those actors that were in the first tour weren't available for the second tour. The guy who played the Major, for instance, Gerard, got a 6-month BBC contract, and we offered him the role for the second tour, and he couldn't accept that. Some of the actors that were in the first tour, obviously we didn't want to work with again, and like I say, some of them, the trainees, just weren't to the level of ability that we needed. So I thought, in order to serve the visually impaired professional performers that we had in the play to the best, in the best possible way, the only way that I could see of us doing that was to cast the play in an integrated way, to have professional sighted actors working alongside visually impaired professional actors, and that would also serve the writing. I wanted my writing to have the best possible delivery, that we could get. So after making that decision, certainly with the guy who played the older Jacques, we re-offered him the part and he accepted that, and we were really pleased about that, because he was very, very good and very sensitive at playing his role. With the Major, we offered the part to somebody who we'd auditioned during the first tour, but we'd auditioned him for another role. And when we rethought about it, we thought of him playing the Major and thought he might do very well. He accepted he wanted to be in the show, and so we cast him. So we had a blind actor playing a sighted Major, and I had done some work at RADA with Eileen, the director, just after the first production finished, and we'd met a lot of young actors there, both in training and graduates of RADA, and through them we sort of put the word out that we were auditioning. I put the word out amongst other contacts of mine that we were auditioning, and we held auditions amongst sighted actors, and found 2 actors in particular that were really interested in playing the younger Jacques. One of them ended up not being available because he had a clash of dates, work dates in the autumn, but the other guy was available, and we cast him. So we had a sighted actor playing Jacques and a blind actor playing the Major, and that for us created a very interesting dynamic. And
Bist du dir blinder? Pardon? Sprichst du Deutsch? No. Are you the blind one? Yes.
In the second production of Resistance, with the integrated cast, when we had a sighted actor playing the young Jacques, and we had a blind actor playing the sighted Major, when they were in performance, the audiences often didn't know who was blind and who was sighted on stage, and they would often believe that the blind actor was sighted and the sighted actor was blind, which was interesting. And I don't know whether that's just the power of being told what, just the power of theatre, really, and people being, sort of believing what it is they're being shown, whether that was the power of our actors. I kind of like to think it's the power of our actors, and what James, as the actor who played Jacques, put into that role. He was very conscientious and a very intelligent actor and sensitive, and wanted not only to understand intellectually where this character was coming from, but physically how perhaps his blindness might affect him, and so he blindfolded himself during particular rehearsals.
An actor blindfolded.
Just to see how he would, his movement would manifest during that time. And I remember he did a whole run of a show with a blindfold on, and his movement was fantastic. And I think that showed to him as a sighted person that if you're confident in your environment as a blind person, you don't have to be aping any sort of caricature way of appearing blind. You can just move easily, which is what he did with the blindfold on, and that was really good for him and good for us, I think, as a company working with blind actors, to have that kind of reinforced from somebody who was sighted. And we cast the other supporting roles from sighted actors that we knew one way or another. And what we knew in terms of our scheduling of the second tour was that if we were going to do this second tour, we would only have 3 weeks rehearsal, whereas before we had 8 weeks rehearsal. With 8 weeks rehearsal, we were able to train the totally blind actors in the physical interpretations of the production that we had created. But with only 3 weeks rehearsal, we wouldn't be able to do that with totally blind actors. And so the sighted actors that were playing those supporting roles were able to execute all the physicality of those roles very quickly. And our older Jacques already knew the part, and our major, who was totally blind, had a very static role, even though he had a challenge in terms of the text, because the text of the major speaks is very, very fragmented, and you really have to, sometimes there's no, I mean, there are obviously cues to come in at certain points, but they're not related to anything. You just have to know the script so well to be able to come in, and that was a challenge for our blind actor rather than the movement side of it.
Greek, Latin, French literature, philosophy, ancient history, and from 1750, present history.
Remember.
Hello!
Who?
Call it the Gardenor with 3 birds. Pray for me. Robert! 50,000 copies in April!
The financial disaster brought on by 9 successive ministers in the 15 years leading up to Louis XVI in 1789.
If you really are the leader, you will know where he and Philippe Carlier are!
Coded message from Algiers requests to meet the communists.
Alas!
The Philippe's movements have always been kept secret.
All the resources of the organisation were put at your self-disposal!
Recite 12 untranslated letters of Cicero.
Oh, you would never have been able to have achieved so much!
The communists are cool with us. Strictly partisan, but we have made other connections.
There's a lot I don't know. I've never been a full-time agent.
You are Jacques Lucero, I imagine?
Yes. I've come to sit the exam.
I do not confirm the exemption made for the above on the 31st of January 1943.
But my parents have lobbied and...
I therefore do not authorise the above to present himself for the examination in literature for the entrance to the École Normale Supérieure. Signed, Minister Abel Bonheur.
Remember.
Hello!
Who?
Well done, Jacques. You got us to 100,000 copies in May.
However you operated, your self-produced full-time for the organisation.
You are to be disqualified.
No! I've sat 3 of the examinations already.
Means nothing.
But I'm in the top 3 out of a class of 45.
Your cell was at the core, and you know much more than you show. You have been concealing all the time. This detailed part